case you're just now joining us, I'm Tabitha Bennett. I'm the AWS On Air executive producer. This is my co-host, Alana Kelton, and we have a friend. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you, Tabitha. So hey, everybody. Brian Krause. I'm coming to you from Verif. Verif is a digital identity verification provider, and what we do is essentially help companies prove who they're doing business with in digital environments.
I think that's amazing. So what are some of the different maybe areas that you could help out with for that?
Absolutely. So great question, and the short answer is everywhere, and that is because the necessity to authenticate who you're doing business with in a digital environment has never been greater. So initially, the regulatory requirements led the way for financial services to be the largest adopter of this type of technology for what they call KYC requirements, where banks are required to validate who is actually opening an account and doing business with them and making sure that they're not on any illegal sanction screening lists and so forth. But what we've seen in the last couple of years actually is a large adoption outside of finance. So we see trust and safety organizations being born in social media companies, online marketplaces where fraud is becoming very prevalent, where you have either access to age-restricted goods or content, or you have merchandise that is being bought and resold somewhere where it's not supposed to be. And so the demand to actually authenticate who you're doing business with on the other end of a computer or a mobile phone is really quite pervasive now, and it's really never been more important.
Wow, I think that's really interesting because, you know, just like you said, if you look at the internet and you look at, unfortunately, there are bad actors, but there's also a lot of good actors. You know, they want to make sure that everything is secure and, you know, they want to be able to trust the sites that they're visiting. And I think that is wonderful. Brian, I hear you have a demo. Now,
Sure.
Our AWS customers love demos, so let's see what you got.
Great, yeah, happy to do a demo. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the user experience from my perspective. So for the sake of not sharing my personal information with millions of viewers, I'm going
because we're about safety. This is what we're talking about, safety and verification privacy.
100%. So what I will show you now is what you'll see on my screen is really just the sort of landing page for a user. This is a template screen, so of course this is brandable. So any organization that adopts Verif technology is allowed to skin this and make it look and feel like the user experience within their environment and their architecture. So what happens is we land them on this page, and then they're allowed to essentially authenticate themselves through any device. But what we try to do is push them to a mobile experience because we have typically better cameras, typically more comfort from the customer, the end user of taking pictures on their phone, and so on and so forth. So it makes it a much more robust user experience.
I mean, think about it. You have this thing with you all the time. You're on the train. You're in the taxi. You're in, I'm sorry, the Lyft or wherever. You know, you constantly have your phone with you. And, you know, you don't know where you're going to be when you need that ID verification. Like, maybe I'm logging into my bank account or something, or I want to go buy something, like you said.
Correct.
Very important.
Exactly,
Okay.
and definitely guilty of always having the device. So what I'll do now is I'll just walk you through a user authentication of myself. And again, the point here is just to show you how seamless we've made this. So I'm going to go ahead and scan the QR code that was presented to the user to essentially push me to mobile for my verification. So on this end, now you're seeing, show me your government-issued document. So I'll take a quick picture of my document. Now, our technology is intuitive, and we use AI and ML, and so, of course, we don't ask the user what document they're going to be presenting. We just recognize it. And if it's a driver's license, as in my case, the technology is smart enough to know that there's valuable information on the back of this document in the way of preventing fraud. So I'm going to prompt the user to show me the back and auto-scan the barcode on the back. So the fraud engine in the background is actually leveraging all of that to compare the data to the front, to the back, to make sure that everything is authentic and legitimate from the user. And then the last part is, of course, the friendly selfie to make sure that it is actually me. I've submitted my session, and now you can see how quick it is. We're actually verifying me and going through the process, and I'm done.
Wow.
Wow.
So that is fast.
Even in the process of explaining it to you and stopping at each step, it was maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah.
For the average user, it's probably half of that, and the response time from our system is very, very fast. The enterprise customer of ours then gets a full data payload that tells them all the information that we were able to extract from that application session. Everything related to Have you seen my face before in another application attempt?
Ooh.
What device am I coming in from? What OS? What network? Am I using a VPN? Are there risks associated with what I'm doing on the other end that could potentially be problematic for your business? And of course,
Interesting.
is the document and the person authentic? Am I a real person? Am I alive? Am I not spoofing the system with my LinkedIn photo?
Right.
All of those checks are happening nearly instantaneous, and as you can see, it's very, very, very fast.
I find that fascinating because, I look to in the digital world, just like you said, things are moving so quickly. And, how to keep up and keep ahead of those trying to take our data, our identity. We all know that identity theft is rampant out there, unfortunately. I love hearing about this. So how do people get started?
Sure, yeah. They can contact, Verif or myself. Our global sales team is very accessible. We're a global organization. We have offices in Barcelona and Tallinn, Estonia, London here, as well as New York. So we've got, 1,000 global customers today, and I like to think we're very accessible. So you can visit verif.com, of course, get more information, contact sales, or like I said, reach out to myself at any time, and happy to provide any information, and most importantly, learn what it is you're trying to accomplish, and
Right.
see if our technology can help.
I think that is amazing. Anything else you want to say to our viewers?
Yeah, I will say one more thing. You mentioned sort of the good user versus the bad user, and I think we're at an inflection point with this technology in the market. And there's this legacy term that folks use that is friction, and they don't want to put friction in front of potential customers. What's really fascinating about the market today is all the research that's being done, not at the enterprise level, but at their customer level.
Right.
To say, hey, if we put this technology in place, do you want this? Would you be okay with this extra hop in the process? And the research is actually telling us that consumers are way ahead of that thinking. They're now expecting it.
Yeah.
Because they're so comfortable with it, and they value the extra level of privacy that the organizations are putting in place to make sure that, I'm not interacting if it's on a social account, I'm not interacting with a bot or a troll or whatever you want to call it. And most importantly, I feel safe, and I feel like the companies that I'm doing business with, where my PII lives,
Right.
those companies are taking all the steps that they can to make sure that trust and safety and data security is at its highest level. And a lot of research has come out this year. There's a study in December and January that actually showed, from Sapio Research, that actually showed about 60% of customers now expect this technology when they're onboarding themselves onto a new platform.
I could see where I would really, at first you wouldn't think that you would, but then when you do start to look at social accounts, you do start to look at your bank accounts and your credit card accounts. I think sometimes we take that for granted and expect immediately to be there. But I love the fact that you're saying, yes, they understand that. Yes, they care about it. And these are the ways that they're doing it. So in one way, it could be kind of a little pain because you're like, oh, I have to take a photo. But on the other hand, look at all the security that you're gaining and making sure that nobody is stealing my dollar out of my account.
Well, and this goes like way beyond CAPTCHA. I mean, like you are not, if you're doing that, you are not a robot, and you don't have to like figure out how many bridges are in a grid. Like, it's like, it's actually easier than that.
Correct. And the irony is, in many cases, this technology is actually cheaper than some of those legacy technologies like OTP one-time PIN, I'm going to send you a text to your mobile, or CAPTCHA, or what street did you grow up in, what street did you grow up on, or your grandmother's maiden name, and those type of identity challenge questions. And so what we've built is a very cost-effective, very high security, very high UX solution here to really solve problems for a number of different industries that are trying to do a better job of making sure that their user base is legitimate and folks that they should be having on the platform.
Yeah, and it's awesome that you guys went mobile first.
Yes.
Because that is, I mean, again, that's like what Tabitha was saying, when you have your phone on you all the time.
Yes.
So recognizing that, and instead of, like doing web and then adapting, you're not using a browser, you're just boom, right in your mobile device, which is
80 to 90%
totally
of our users are actually finishing sessions on mobile.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating,
awesome.
I have to say, who remembers the street that they grew up on half the
I know.
time? I mean, I'm sitting there going, what did I put in there?
I know.
Was it this, or which street did I, or which pet's name did I use? And I don't remember what pet name I used. So
Yeah,
I
so
love
many
that this
subjective, so many subjective questions. Like, what is your favorite band? Like now or 10 years ago when I set this up? Like,
Exactly.
What was my favorite band back 10 years ago?
Exactly. What's funny is a lot of those solutions are put in place when we're trying to do something after we've created an account. So I've lost my password,
yes.
or I'm in fear of an account takeover, and so they try to, organizations will try to put in place sort of lightweight identity challenges, right? That leverage that type of information. With our solution, actually, once you've onboarded yourself, like I did here today, you have the ability to configure the system to allow the user to come back and just show a selfie.
Oh, nice.
To unlock all those capabilities. So instead of a contact center call,
Right.
And a 3-4 minute, $2-3 cost to the business for me just because I lost my password, or the challenge of going through remembering what street I grew up on, now I can just click, hey, I want to reset my password. I'm presented with, can you just prove it's you by showing a selfie real quick? It takes 1 second. We reference the initial information that user completed at onboarding time, and they're done. And it's a fully automated transaction.
I love it. I love it. I think that is amazing.
yeah. for
Wow.
sure.
Well, again,
Really
I know
cool.
you said it earlier, but where is it people can get a hold of you at?
Yeah, you can visit verif.com, or you can find myself personally on LinkedIn, my whole team on LinkedIn. So I know it's a very network environment we're in today. So please reach out, and happy to, like I said, learn what you're trying to accomplish. And if our technology can help, we'd love to engage.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brian. I think this was a very exciting deep dive, and that we were able to really go in and understand how, a lot of the AI, ML technology and data can be protected, and I think that's amazing. The other thing I wanted to know is, what are you looking forward to here at the AWS London Summit?
Yeah, great question. So it's been great networking. So yesterday I spent the day with the pre-session over in Westminster, and was able to really get with a lot of other providers like us that
Nice.
are also in the same position. And so really just networking, and again, trying to understand what people are trying to accomplish out there, what their challenges are, and how this type of technology can help or can be attached to other solutions to present, more holistic identity verification or information and cybersecurity solutions.
I love it. And what do you look forward to here at the summit? What is the most exciting? Are you going to do the F1 simulator? You're going to go down the slide? Tell us your fave.
F1 simulator.
I
Definitely.
mean, who doesn't want to sit in an F1 simulator?
Right.
I know.
They've got the car out front. It's really cool. I'll tell you. I don't know if I
Exactly.
could fit in the real one, though.
I'm going to see really quick if we have some questions in chat there to make sure that we are answering everybody. Let's see what we got in Twitch. So we have a question in LinkedIn, as a matter of fact. They want to know, so when you're talking about those use cases, we kind of really touched on the financial. We touched on the fraudulent activity of buying. Are there any other industries that maybe haven't thought about this, that you would be like, hey, this is a great entry into it, and this is how you could use it?
Absolutely, yeah. We're starting to see a lot of really cool applications for this type of technology. Obviously, like I said, FSI, financial services, was regulated to really put technology like this in place and do this quickly. But when you look at social media companies, you look at dating applications, you look at healthcare.
I think the dating one's important because you want to make sure that that is not a catfish.
You want to make sure of that.
Make
yes,
sure of that.
Course, yes.
Make sure of that.
Yes. So
You were saying.
the dating applications is very important, right, to our society.
Yes, it is. It's now a part of it. You gotta embrace it.
Yeah. So a lot of those platforms are looking to, again, just make sure that users are who they say they are.
Love it.
And there's no catfishing. When you look at markets like healthcare.
So let's talk about that. Where could you use that in the healthcare space? So let's say that they're going, hey, we want to protect our patients. How could they use that as well?
Sure. So a good application, so there's a couple that come to mind. One is, of course, patient access. And so, in the U.S., the federal government mandated that patients be patients be given digital access to all their health records earlier last year, I believe, 22, or maybe it was 21. And so now a lot of those organizations are pushing your digital records to online portals, and you can access all your test results and so on and so forth. Tons of critical information about us behind a lot of those. And so the level of security of thoroughly proving I am who I am when I set up my account for the first time to access those records and that information is really, really critical. Also provides for a great user experience for all of the patients. Another one is actually on the provider side. So think about controlled substances and prescription writing and how we can leverage biometrics to make sure that the folks writing and issuing those prescriptions to the pharmacies are actually certified to do that.
Right.
So that is a really good sort of use and application, technology for good to make sure that we don't have, fraudulent prescriptions going out for controlled substances, as I mentioned. So a couple of those that come to mind. But yeah, there's lots of industry. So we have, obviously micromobility is a big space, iGaming and digital gaming now with the proliferation of that in the U.S. Obviously, the more maturity.
Ebony fans. I'm here. Go ahead.
There's some big West Ham thing going on today, apparently. So authenticating those users, making sure that they're compliant with all local, state or jurisdictional requirements, and making sure that if actual monetary transactions are occurring, that someone's not suffering account takeovers and money's moving where it shouldn't. But also at the same time, screening to make sure that the people going on that platform not only are who they say they are, but again, as I mentioned earlier, we're also running those users through sanction screening lists and politically exposed person lists to make sure that I'm allowed to do business with you, not just that I am who I say I am.
I think, Brian, one of the things in every example that you've given us across industries, it's a win-win for both sides. Like, that's what's so cool is like as you flip that coin and you see what's happening from the business side and then also from the personal side, it's like you get that definite handshake of like, yes, we trust you, we've got this under control,
exactly.
Which is awesome.
Exactly. Security is sort of a two-way street, right? We have to do our part as the owners of the information, of our information, and enterprises as the holders and the required party to have access to that information. But there's this is a technology for good. We're trying to solve a very big problem here with anonymity on the internet and to what degree. And it sort of, on this mission, it sort of strikes me that I've been to so many conferences and talked so many times about this, but we've sort of reached this point where it's almost accepted by everyone that at some point we're going to be subject to, some sort of identity theft. And I just think that
it's not if, it's when.
Exactly. And I just think that we need to fight that capitulation. That is not normal. And it shouldn't
be normalized, really. It really should not be normal that I have to worry about my data or somebody charging my account and going to Hawaii without me or Australia without me. You should have at least invited me if I'm paying. You know who you are out there.
100%.
I think that's important. And the other thing, I love the fact that you said that, you're constantly listening to your customers. To me, I think, with AWS being customer obsessed, and I love the fact that Verif is being customer obsessed, you want to know overall, how to make things better, how to work with them. Things that they're hearing from their customers. Maybe a customer says, I don't like this part, and you're responsive and flexible in that manner to be able to listen to them and take that into consideration.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the mantra that I live by internally at Verif when I talk to sales teams and product teams is that identity means something different to every organization we talk to.
That's right.
Because they're either bound by different requirements for proving identity or different preferences. And so the level at which you screen me and verify me is going to be somewhat unique across every different company we talk to. And so if we're not listening to them as we sort of present our solution to them as a potential solution, and if we're not delivering product that acts in that manner, that provides the flexibility and the sort of platform nature and approach to identity, then we're not going to be as successful as we could have been. And so we have to always have that in mind, that it does mean something different to every organization.
I think that's important because, if you look at how many ways to verify your identity, there's the CAPTCHA, where you get to pick that lovely, which one is the bike, or my favorite is the stoplight. I can never, I never
Do
seem
you
to
pick
get
the pole? Do you just go for the light
Or
itself?
am I supposed to do the little crosswalk, like little walking sign? Which part am I talking about? But then you also have, you have eyes, you have face, you have, let's remember when Apple started doing, you had to use your finger, all these different ways. And you're right, if you can somewhat kind of capture all that and take it down and go, what is the most demand way? And then, serve that up to the customers. And again, like you said, on the mobile is amazing. And I think really it's great to show how ID verification and face liveliness can protect people, critical data, digital communities, and it seems like you make it in a very smooth and seamless way.
Yes, after hundreds and hundreds of years, still the only way to actually prove I am who I say I am without measure of doubt is to match me to my
Your photo.
good old government-issued document and prove that I'm a human on the other end. And leverage biometrics to match.
And that was verif.com?
Verif.com.
Verif.com, everyone. So especially if you're an enterprise company looking to help your customers, and as all the different use cases that we talked about, give Brian here a call, and he will hook you up with verif.com.